السلام عليكم. How are you today? I hope you are always good, inshallah. Okay, today we will do the listening, which is the last part of the course. So we discuss the techniques. Then after that, we'll do a practice test and we will see your results. Excuse me for my voice. I've been sick now since 3 days. So I'm trying my best to teach you, inshallah. Allah yasallamkum. Okay. The listening in the IELTS takes about 45 minutes, and there are 4 sections in it. 4 sections. Let's look at an example. There is section 1. Which has 10 questions from 1 to 10. So in every section there are 10 questions and there are 4 sections. Section 2 also has questions from 1 to 10. Section 3 it has also questions from 1 to 10. And the last one also has 10 questions. The listening goes from easy to difficult. Always sections 1 and 2 are the easier. Sections 3 and 4 are the difficult ones, especially the last one. Okay. So we will listen to the CD for 1 time only. It is not repeated. But they will give you time to read the questions, then listen, then check your answers between questions and questions. Do you hear me now? Do you hear me very well? Is it clear now? Okay. It's just when I come close to the screen, it becomes not that much clear. So there are some tips for the listening that you need to know. Look at the first one. Try to read before you listen. Now, as I said, you will not listen to the CD for all sections at one time. No. First, you will listen to the first section. But also in the first section, they will give you time to read the questions from 1 to 5, for example, or 1 to 6, for 30 seconds. Read the questions. Then listen to the answers from 1 to 6 only. Then check your answers from 1 to 6. Okay? Then they will give you time to read the questions from 6 or from 7 to 10. Then listen, then check. Before you move to the second section, it's the same. They will divide the questions, 5 and 5. In section number 3 and 4, you will not be given a break between the questions. It's continuous. Section 3 is continuous, but they will give you time to read the questions, then listen, then check your answers. You finish, they will give you time to read questions of section 4, then listen, then check your answers. In the question paper, you can write notes of the question, of the answers. Then at the end of the listening, they will give you 10 minutes to shift or to transfer your answers from the question paper to the answer paper. 10 minutes for that, right? So what makes it very good is the most important thing is the spelling. Now, when they give you time to read, you need to predict the answer. What do I need in the space? Do I need a verb, a noun, an adjective, a position, number, money, name of a person, which is a noun, name of a place, email address, etc. So you can predict that, and that will help you to grab the answer from the conversation. For example, if there is a space, then there is a noun. What do you need in the space? What do you think? Very good. It might be an adjective or a verb. Adjective or a verb. But if there is no other words before the space, it should be an adjective. It should be an adjective. Or it can be a preposition. If you have spelling mistakes in one letter, the whole question is wrong. So you will get 0. If it is only one letter wrong. Sometimes the question has 2 words to complete. One is correct, one is wrong in spelling. It's wrong. It's wrong. See? So that's why I insisted to study and memorize a lot of listening words with the right spelling and meaning from the beginning of the course, because that will enable you to score high marks in the listening. I had students who scored 7 and 8 only in the listening, because they studied the words very well. So the spelling makes a big difference. The expectation of the word makes a big difference. Try to read as you listen. When you listen, try to read. Don't leave the questions at the end. Means answer the questions directly, immediately. Don't say, I will come to it later. You will forget the information. So just write the answer. Write a note on the question paper. Then you can modify it. Practice your shorthand. Means abbreviations of words when you write. For example, so when you move to the answer sheet, you will write the full word. Your spelling, as I said, don't write very quickly. Don't leave any blank answers. Whether you think it's correct or not, just write it. It might be correct and you will get a mark. But if you leave it without answering, you will lose. Listen for repeated information. And this is mostly in the dialogues. Sometimes they repeat some information that they are talking about. So you have to listen if there is any repeated information. these are the most important techniques and tips for the listening. Okay. More techniques, more tips are these. If the section or if the conversation or if the listening is a conversation between two people, try to ask yourself, who is talking? Means, what's their job? What's their position? Are they an engineer and a student, a lecturer and a student, a doctor and a patient? There will be questions about that. So try to write these questions, remember them, write them if the listening is conversation or a dialogue. Who is talking? What are they talking about? Topic. And how do they feel about it? They will express their feeling. Do they feel sad, happy, satisfied, dissatisfied, upset? They will express their feeling. These are all the techniques you need to know about the listening. If you access the internet, you will see a lot of techniques presented by different teachers. That will confuse you. I always advise my students, what I give them in my course is more than enough. If they can do it, they can finish it all. No need to access Google websites or YouTube videos or whatever. It's enough. Because today after class, I will send you a website that has a lot of practice exams with answers. So you'll do it after the course or after Eid, and the answers are there. You can check your answers, especially the reading and listening. You can send me your results out of 40, so I will change them into a band, or you can change it yourself from page number 3, I think, or 2. Is that clear? Try to make it very simple. What is more important is to learn the listening words with the correct spelling, to be able to predict what kind of word is needed in the space. Yes. If you have the words, you are in the safe side. Now we will do a listening practice test of 4 sections. But sometimes the students cannot hear the sound. If not, I will open a website from Google. I will play now my CD, which is about this practice, but sometimes it doesn't work due to technical problems. Now let me just try it. By the way, there is nothing like that in the exam. These are just in the book that I'm using as tips and techniques. Tips and techniques. You will not see this in the exam. So don't worry about that. We already explained that today. Okay. Now I will check if everyone can hear the listening. Did you hear something? No. So it seems that we will face the same problem. The accent is British mostly. British accent. Okay, listen again.
It's $5.90 a night. That's sharing with 5 other people.
The cost of the bunkhouse is... $5.90 a night, so $5.90 has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Can you all listen? This is the maximum, actually. This is the maximum. Try your best. See, it's the maximum. Anyway, we'll try it. So go to page 55, section 1, page 55. There is one student joining now. We will wait for him. His name is Fahad. Fahad, we will start the listening now. Open your book, page 55, please. Page 55. Okay, Fahad? Try to put the headset on your ears. The headset on your ears. Okay, let's start.
IELTS test practice. Section 1. Hear a telephone conversation in which a student is inquiring about the cost of accommodation. First, you have some time to
I explain that one by one, Usul, one by one.
Is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning, East Coast backpackers. Oh, hi. I'd like some information, please. Yes, sure. How much does it cost to stay at your hostel? Well, if you stay in the bunkhouse, it's $5.90 a night. That's sharing with 5 other people.
The cost of the bunkhouse is $5.90 a night, so $5.90 has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good morning, East Coast backpackers. Oh, hi. I'd like some information, please. Yes, sure. How much does it cost to stay at your hostel? Well, if you stay in the bunkhouse, it's $5.90 a night. That's sharing with 5 other people. Right. Do you have anything else? We didn't really want to share with that many people. Sure. We've got cabins for $11 a night, or if you want air conditioning, then they're $14. So, the cabins with air conditioning are $14. Correct. Okay. Are you right on the beach? It's a 5-minute walk to the beach, and we also have a swimming pool. What about diving? Can you do any scuba diving? Sure. And we offer a special package for diving. Great. I'll get back to you.
Hello, Emu Park Hostel.
Oh, hi. I'm just inquiring about the cost of staying at your hostel.
Well, we've got a number of levels of accommodation. If you share with up to 5 others, it'll cost you $5 a night or $30 a week.
Do you have any individual rooms?
Yeah, we do. We've got rooms overlooking the beach with their own bathroom.
How much are the rooms with the bathroom?
$30 a night, but we're booked out for the rest of the month.
Oh, I see. And is it possible to scuba dive? I mean, are there any diving facilities?
Not here, I'm afraid, but it's great for fishing.
Okay, not too keen on fishing, thanks. I might leave it then.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Hello, East Coast Backpackers. Oh, hi. It's Sabina Toma here again. I called you earlier.
Oh, yes, I remember.
I'd like to make a reservation, if that's possible, for the bunkhouse.
Fine. What dates were you looking at?
Well, from today, if possible, for about a week.
Oh, okay. Well, you're in luck because some people have just left this morning.
Can you give me the exact address, please?
Okay. Well, it's the Backpackers Hostel, Shute Harbour Road. That's S-H-U-T-E and another word, harbour, which is spelt H-A-R-B-O-U-R.
Shute Harbour Road. Okay, got it. And how do we get there from the town? We'll be arriving by coach.
Well, you'll need to take a local bus. Catch the number 25 to the beach. It will have the words Golden Sands on the front of the bus.
Right. Let me just write that down. Golden Sands.
Just ask for the Backpackers Hostel. But it's only about 2 kilometres from the centre of town, so you could walk it.
I think we'll get the bus. Oh, and one last thing. Do you have access to the internet?
Yes, we've got a little internet cafe here with 5 computers, so you can send and receive emails.
And how much does it cost to use the computers?
That'll cost you $4 an hour, and we serve great coffee too.
So, is there a little shop where we can buy things?
Yes, we sell a few essential things, soap and toothpaste, that sort of thing.
Thanks, that sounds perfect. We'll see you this evening.
Right, Sabina,
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Check your answers now. You have half a minute to check your answers. Okay. How was it? How was section 1? Yeah, it's the easiest one. Okay, now we'll move to section 2.
Now, that's the global bit. But what about the local thing? Well, Unit 9, the driving force. IELTS test practice. Section 2. You will hear an extract from a talk about cars. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Today, many people own a car, and cars have become a common sight around the world. But how did all this come about? In our report today, Jeremy Pemberton gives us a brief history of the motor car.
Well, the first thing you should know is that no single individual was responsible for the invention of the car, or automobile, as we call it in the States. The important thing to remember is that the car developed slowly over time, as hundreds of people sought to produce a motorized vehicle. This means that it's hard to say exactly when the car originated. The name automobile dates back to a drawing of a carriage mounted on 4 wheels that was designed by a 14th century Italian painter named Martini. The name that he gave it, automobile, is half Greek, auto meaning self, and half Latin, mobile, meaning moving. Car, on the other hand, comes from a Latin word, carus, meaning cart or wagon. Add to that all the French words associated with cars, such as chauffeur, chassis, and garage, and you can start to see how complex the history is. It's believed that the first electric-powered road vehicle was built in about 1839 in Scotland by a man called Robert Anderson. The concept of an electrical engine that could start immediately and run quietly was very attractive at that time, as indeed it is now. The first designs were not very successful, though. Later, there were some improvements to these, and this led to the appearance of electric taxis on the streets of London in the late 1800s. But they too didn't last long, because electric batteries were still heavy, unreliable, and needed recharging after a short run. It's odd to think that we're just going back to solving some of these problems now. The first real automobiles were very much like motorized versions of horse-drawn vehicles, and were referred to as horseless carriages. However, there is a much stronger link between cars and bicycles. Main pioneers in the car world were people who were experienced in manufacturing bicycles. In fact, the best place to buy a really fine car in the early 1900s was at the local bicycle shop.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
There is a common belief that the car is an American invention. But the American car inventors came on the scene relatively late, and while some succeeded, most failed. Then along came Henry Ford. Ford was born in 1863. His parents were farmers who had traveled to America from Ireland, but their son disliked the rural lifestyle, and in 1879, when he was 16 years old, he left home and walked to Detroit to find a job. He worked as an apprentice in a machine shop, and in his spare time, he built an internal combustion engine from plans he found in a magazine. It had bicycle wheels and was steered by a tiller. It had no brakes or reverse gear and was so noisy that the public hated it. Some years later, in 1896, he built his first vehicle that was bigger, more powerful, and much faster. It was called the quadricycle. This proved more popular. He was actually able to sell it and raise money for further experiments. During the next several years, Ford continued to refine his passenger vehicles. Finally, in 1903, he produced an automobile he was ready to market, and so he formed the Ford Motor Company. Ford first brought out the Model A, a small car with an 8-horsepower engine, which sold for $850. The next year, the Model B Ford was added, which sold for $2,000. In 1906, Ford added the Model K, which Ford lost money on because it was big and expensive. At this point, he decided to concentrate on a light, simple model that could be sold inexpensively. The new design was called the Model T, easy to operate and repair. Customers responded to the advantages of the Model T, and production increased. Gradually, Ford found a better, faster way to build cars, and in 1914, he opened the world's first auto assembly line. Suddenly, a car could be turned out in 93 minutes. By 1924, half of the cars in the world were Fords. The Model T sold for $290, and profits piled up. Henry Ford did not create the automobile, but it was he who led the manufacturing revolution. He said he would ensure that just about everyone had a car. He kept his word, and life has never been the same since. That's the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, how was it? Yeah, sound is bad, I know that. For that reason, I will add 1 mark to every student, one band to every student, inshallah.
Step up to IELTS.
And the listening after we finish.
Published by Press. This recording is copyrighted. C8. Unit 10. Unit 11. Unit 12. Down to Earth. Unit 11. IELTS speaking test model. Part Unit 12. 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 IELTS test practice. Section 3. You will hear 2 people discussing the life of an artist. First, you have some time to look at
questions
1 to 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Radio Art Club. With us in the studio is Martin Wade, who is an art dealer, and he's here to talk to us about a man called John Gould. Welcome, Martin.
Good evening.
John Gould, if I'm right, was known as the Birdman, but who was he really?
Well, Gould was a man of many parts. I suppose that first and foremost he was an artist, but he also had a keen eye for business, so we could also call him a businessman. And as well as that, he was a scientist.
He studied birds, didn't he?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So we've got an artist, a businessman, and a scientist all rolled into one. And why is he famous?
Well, predominantly because he produced the greatest collection of drawings of Australian birds ever.
Can you tell us about his life? What kind of a man was he?
Now, let's see. He was born in England in 1804, and he lived for 76 years, so he had a comparatively long and productive life. He had no formal education, and when he was a young man in the 1820s, he worked as a gardener in Kew Gardens in London. And then, because of his interest in animals, he was made curator of a museum. In fact, the Zoological Museum in London.
Right. So he had quite a few interests.
Absolutely. He and his wife together. They were both very interested in the discovery of new species of animals.
So when did he visit Australia?
Well, in 1838, Gould and his wife and their eldest son sailed from England, leaving their 3 youngest children behind with the grandparents.
Gracious.
They travelled around extensively, and although they were only there for 2 years, Gould discovered many new species, and he also named them.
Yes, he played a significant role, didn't he?
The family returned to England in August 1840 and took with them hundreds of specimens of animals for their great work, which was still to be produced. In fact, it took them 8 years to produce the full work, which was completed in 1848 and published under the simple name of Birds of Australia.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Now, tell us about the drawings themselves. What process did he use to produce the prints of his drawings?
He used a process known as lithography.
Why did he choose this in particular?
He chose it because he felt it was the best method he could use to accurately reproduce the fur and feathers of the animals.
I see. Can you tell us briefly what it involved?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, the drawing was made onto a flat slab of limestone. In order to do this, he used a wax crayon. You don't need any technical skill to do this, other than an ability to draw.
Which John Gould obviously had.
Yes, that's right. Then, when he'd done the first drawing, he wet the stone and applied the ink. Where the stone was wet, the ink didn't stick. That's how he got the outline.
Aha.
Then the inky picture was transferred to a piece of paper using a special printing press.
Simple. Many of the prints are coloured. How did they do this?
Well, it was a slow and laborious job. Each individual picture was coloured by hand.
Right. That must have taken some patience, and I suppose that's why the result is so incredible.
Yes.
And how many prints did he produce?
We think he produced about 250 of each, but there's no way of telling how many have survived the 150 years that have passed since then. Which is why the few examples that we have are so valuable, especially as many of the animals he drew are now extinct.
That's absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Pleasure.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Unit 13, Safe as Houses.
Okay. How was section 3? How was section 3? Nice. Now we'll move to section 4.
Section 4, questions 1 to 6. Unit 13, set up to IELTS listening. Section 4, questions. Unit 4,